Hello everybody and welcome to the LHC with Louise and Hugh. How you doing, Hugh?
I'm alright, but I'm not sure which way round that we go, which is a joke that doesn't really work because you don't actually know this, but I always get mixed up between which one's Key and which one's Peele.
Ooh, we're going there first.
I didn't know. I've never seen them use their names. They're from... I haven't watched enough. I've only seen their characters.
Well, no, this is the thing.
Literally only when I looked up this morning did I realise that I've got them the wrong way round.
Well, no, I can understand this because you actually, aren't that into Key and Peele, have you?
I have literally seen the Lightning in a Bottle sketch that you sent me and this film.
And that's it. Have you not
seen... I think that's it.
Have you not seen Get Out?
Get Out's been on my list for a while. I've read the wiki of the plot, if that helps.
No. It's just, of course, that was Jordan Peele's directorial debut.
Yeah.
But this one was written by him. So yeah, Jordan Peele, who in this one plays Rel. I mean, in all fairness, we're gonna pretty much be calling everyone by their actors' names because the actors' names have so much more impact than the others. And Keegan-Michael Key, who plays Clarence in this.
Yeah. And the thing is, I know him from friends from college, which means I know him as Ethan. But again, I didn't know which one he was out of Key and Peele. I only realised it was the same guy when I saw this film as well. So, yeah.
Understandable because you don't know which round it is and you haven't watched any of their stuff. But they do have, they actually, back when they did their double act sketch show together, they did do openings and closings with silly bits in, like Hugh and Laurie.
I was just about to say like Hugh and Laurie, but it is a thing of with common, comedy duos, you only really realise which one's which if they use their names during the show a lot or if they go solo after.
Well, they have gone pretty solo.
Oh yeah, no, I'm well aware of that. I'm just more like, if these days everyone knows which one's Hugh Laurie and which one's Stephen Fry because they're both independently famous in their own right for their own things. But, it's not like they were particularly using each other's names unless you're... Actually, no, Fry and Laurie are a bad example because I'm thinking back and they did, even in the first stuff in the mid-80s. Ah, well. All right, fine.
I certainly
call me ignorant because I was quite new to their
Well, no, in all fairness, I didn't know who was... When it first came out, I didn't know who was Mitchell and who was Webb.
Ah, there you go. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I genuinely didn't know, and I actually did get it the wrong way round.
As long as you didn't get it the wrong way around if you were ever at the interview with one of them or something like that.
No. Because if I was with the interviewers, this is fun, but when can I talk to John Finnemore?
I agree.
So yes, this was... I should have looked this up, but as far as I'm aware...
I have the wiki in the background if that helps.
This was the first movie that they wrote. I'm just going to check his filmography, writer. But the problem is they've done so much TV. So he's done Us, Weird City, Twilight Zone, Key and Peele, Laugh Factory... The Obama TV show shorts and Mad TV. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty much...
Keanu was the first thing he wrote and produced but didn't direct.
Keanu, yeah, he didn't direct...
But he'd been in films before then.
Yeah, it was a bit. The more of the actor one is Keegan-Michael. But yeah, Jordan Peele wrote Keanu along with Alex Rubens. The director is Peter Antencio, and Keegan-Michael Key is in it. Because it was kind of like, hey, do you like the comedy stylings of Key and Peele? Why don't you come and watch this movie? Which is how the trailers and everything kind of felt.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I really knew about this film going in was that it was basically John Wick, but a comedy and had a cat instead of a dog who didn't die.
This was just before John Wick, interesting, I think, so...
Yeah, and that was all the information I had going in, and actually there's a whole section on the Wikipedia saying... People thought it was like that, but it turns out it's not. And I was like, yeah! Even in 2019 did I think it was John Wick and turned out it wasn't.
No, it's a bit more of a sedate comedy than it lets on.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I mean, at least it's only 90 minutes, pretty much.
Yeah, no, it was pretty quick.
Yeah, so it's not a hard set, even if it does sort of fail down. I will say, so it's a comedy film, right? Where Jordan Peele and Keegan-Michael Key play the same characters... Or same pair of characters because they both play two roles in this throughout the entire movie. which is unfortunate because like the strength of a lot of their character comedy in the show is the ability to just do this really short, really intense bit. But there is some like really nice acting in it. Like you remember the lightning in a bottle sketch. I guess I never showed you, what was it? The Family Matters sketch.
No,
the Family Matters.
But then I haven't seen Family Matters, so.
You know, Family Matters starred the guy from Die Hard, yeah. The cop,
Bruce Willis?
Not Bruce Willis.
Oh, the cop, right? Okay.
The cop
yes.
from Bruce Willis was a cop in that, but the cop that Bruce Willis talks to over the walkie-talkie.
The guy outside.
The guy outside in the car. So it plays him, and it's basically like a blue-collar Cosby show. But what famously did happen is that Urkel, a side character, took over the show.
Became super famous and took over the show. Yeah, I remember.
And they did a sketch of like, what if Urkel was like the Omen, and he takes over the show because he's like a monster in human form. And you have this whole.
That's funny. I'd watch that sketch.
Yeah, you have Jordan Peele come in dressed as bugger! I've literally forgotten his name, and he was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine like a season ago. You know, basically playing that guy, and he plays Simmons. Keegan-Michael Key plays Simmons, doing a lot of cocaine, and they just have like this shouting match until eventually, like, he takes over. Like the guy who plays Urkel, brilliantly by the way, whose name I forget, takes over Keegan-Michael's character, who then shoots himself in the head. And it's like, it just turns out that the guy who plays Urkel. Just comes in and like takes over the entire show, and it just ends as like Family Matters would run another 5 seasons. And it's set up like a horror movie. Like in this thing, it shows because now Jordan Peele is of course known for 2 incredible horror movies.
Yeah,
like people were like, oh, I didn't realize like this comedian was so into horror. If you go back into like in the same way, it's kind of obvious that the people from the League of Gentlemen were kind of into horror. If you go and watch the League of Gentlemen,
it's
definitely kind of obvious that Jordan Peele at least is really into certain like horror tropes. There's another really good one I forgot that they did called Little Homie, where Jordan Peele plays this. What's the word? He plays a parole officer. I had to look after Keegan-Michael, who's like a guy who's just got out of prison. And he says, maybe you'd be interested in talking to Little Homie. And he takes, like, a Muppet out, who's like a really stereotypical gangster type look. And he's to tell him. And eventually, the puppet, like, shoots the guy running him. Life. And the puppet's still working. And when the puppet, like, threatens the guy to like take drugs, eventually then the guy comes back to life and goes, it seems that you broke a thing of your parole of not doing drugs. I'm gonna have to send you back to jail. It's like, what? Oh, this is ridiculous. So it's like, it's weird. It goes like silly and then really dark and then silly again, which is kind of Keanu, now that we're getting into it. So Keanu is the story of about the cutest kitten in the world,
apparently,
who is like the ring from Lord of the Rings if it was a cat.
Yeah, that I'll give you.
Everyone who sees this cat falls in love with it and wants to keep
and then does anything to keep it.
Yeah. And the cat just gets called by Jordan Peele Keanu. And I do like...
Its original name was what, Iglesias or something?
Because it's originally like the cat of this, I guess this drug guy.
Yeah, the drug baron.
Yeah. And then he gets wiped out by these 2 hitmen who are they're throughout the thing. Apparently, their last names are both Dresden. They're 2 brothers, and they're also played by Jordan Peele.
Oil and Smoke, I think.
Yeah, Oil and Smoke.
Their names,
Dresden, but they're called the brothers, the something brothers, the Allistown brothers. Throughout the whole movie, they're never seemingly called their actual names, and it's them under quite impressive makeup, particularly Jordan Peele. Although I don't think for most of the stunts. I don't know.
Yeah, I got the feeling that they wouldn't bother with like the blue screen. They'd just put them because they're under so much effect that you really can't tell it's them until they do the proper close-ups.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So they do like this crazy sort of very sort of like, oh wow, it's like someone had about half the budget to do a kind of a Desperado rip-off, so let's do that. So you have like so, but that's all right because that's not the point. Like, but it's sort of there are three like quite big action pieces in this film because there's a bit in the opening, and then there's a gunfight at the end, and then there's a car chase scene at the end.
That's true. No, there is enough there that it's not an action film pretending to, it's not a comedy pretending to have action. It turns out it doesn't. It does actually sort of meet its expectations of its audience in that way.
But it is interesting, of course, that this is like you got these two people who are in like producing television and stuff, and it's all shot in LA. So watching it when it's just like, it's shot in like very minimal locations and everything, and even like the action's kind of like okay. It did get a feeling that this felt like a kind of relaxed movie, that this was shot very quickly.
And I don't think that's a bad thing.
No. I kind of like watching those movies where people are just kind of like, whatever.
Well, they do say that people coming from TV are just used to making the most of what you've got. You can't keep changing your sets every 3 seconds, and you can't keep, not ever revisiting something after it's had a major, prop made for it when you're in TV. So if those people then go into making films, they do tend to film what they know. They end up with lots of the same location, and they revisit things, and they don't seem to waste money, which, frankly, I don't think it's a bad thing.
No, yeah. No, I don't mind it. It's like, but it reminded me, like a slightly more complicated version of, almost like, what's the word? I've forgotten his name now. Buffy the Vampire Slayer guy. Joss Whedon.
Giles?
Joss Whedon.
Yeah,
just when Joss Whedon did Much Ado About Nothing, and it was all basically just filmed in his house. Or his wife's house, really.
Yes.
But yeah, so anyway, Jordan Peele's character got dumped and just finds Keanu, who like escapes from the whole shootout. And in 2 weeks, this cat completely changes his life. Even though he is kind of obsessed with the cat now.
Yeah, the thing is, you're like, he did that, as in, he does, but it's a case of, originally, pre-cat, he's, burnt out, not working, taking a lot of drugs, and post-cat turning up, he's still not working, he's doing his work, because he's meant to be like a photographer or something, it doesn't really go into it. But now he's just taking pictures of the cat, but they're not to sell. So technically, he's still not working.
Yeah, he's just
and
obsessed
he's
with
still taking drugs.
Yeah,
he's just now obsessed with the cat instead of not washing and sitting on his sofa. So it's hardly the cat doesn't change his life for the better. The cat just changes his life to focus on the cat.
Well, yeah, much like the ring in Lord of the Rings. One thing I do like in that early bit, because there's a bit where just before he meets the cat, he's all sad on his couch, talking to Keegan-Michael Key's character on the phone. He's like, "She said my life is out of direction," and he takes this big bong hit, and he goes, "What's that supposed to mean?" And I love, the way
oblivious,
but all the easy communication that within like 10 seconds you kind of get Jordan Peele's character. And this is a comedy film. They're not going to be changing and growing that much over the course of the film.
Oh god, no. I would argue like they don't really change at all, personally.
Well, no, there are other characters actually that do change a lot more over the course and develop. But yeah, especially, sadly, I do feel bad for Keegan-Michael Key's character, because while he's like, that's a cute cat and everything, he never goes hard in on the cat the way.
No, he's there for his friend.
Yeah, he's there for his friend / I think cousin.
I think it is cousin. Friend I think is the main thing, because it's, like, I've got cousins who I'm friends with, and I've got cousins that I barely know, and I'm pretty sure which one of those I'd help out in this sort of situation, and which of these I'd go, no, I'm out.
Exactly. Yeah.
But to be fair, I think there's very few people I would agree to pretend to be, in a gang murderer for a cat for that person.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd really put myself in that position for any of these people.
But out of the two of them, he's the more suburban one. Keegan-Michael's character is more suburban, sort of less aware of the sort of world that they're going into. And he just gets like this vague setup of his wife. I think it's paid by Nia Long, who just comes in and just says, like, you need to take some time for yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm gonna take some time for myself. I'm gonna do the bills and maybe mow the lawn.
And she's like,
it's
no.
that isn't time for you.
She's like, you gotta learn to take time for yourself. And he's like, okay, I guess. And and that's it. That's his thing. Is eventually he goes into it. He takes this as initially he's apprehensive because what they have to do is Jordan Peele's character's house gets raided and Method Man freaking steals his cat in this place like a drug lord for the I like this sort of joke that they take seriously and they never underline too much. The blips, the people that got kicked out of the Bloods and the Crips.
Yeah, I admit I did like that.
It's a nice way of letting you know it's not too serious when that's how it works. And so the blips, the ones who got kicked out of the Bloods and the Crips, they have it now, and their head honcho is Method Man, who now has the cat and also will not let it go because it's the ring from Lord of the Rings. And so in order to sort of get there, they kind of have to pretend to be, and they're mistook for the guys at the start, the weird prosthesis versions of themselves, the Dresden Brothers.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, why they're played by the same people, so it's kind of believable that, oh yeah, they could mistake them, I guess.
Well, they're roughly the build description, and that's about it, really.
And they're also mysterious, because the other guys are, like, mysterious, weird, like, almost monsters, in a way.
Yeah.
So it, like, makes sense of, like, okay, these random people turn up and act really weird. I guess these are the weird people that we were told about. And I just love that where they say, they're talking about like the action scene at the front that apparently these people have heard of. And they're like, say you did a backflip and stuff. And he's like, look, we don't just backflip. He's like, that's what Jordan Peele's character's saying. He's like, hey, we don't just backflip just because you say so or whatever. And then Keegan-Michael's character's like, nah, I'll do it. And he does a backflip. Just to like, he just does it to get them out of the situation. And in a weird way, that's funnier than coming up with an actual smart reason. It's like, no, you can just do it because he's getting high on the situation.
Yeah, and I think it's sort of nice that they start off and then they have this reversal. So when they first turn up, he's the one who's like completely into the character of, yeah, I'm hardcore, I'm, killing people, I'm doing this and doing that. And the other guy's like, no, I'm really struggling to pretend. At which point, once Peele's like seen some actual violence and has got actually a proper understanding of the situation they're in, he suddenly really struggles to in any way fake the stuff that's going on. At which point the other lot, the other guy, Key, is the one who's suddenly actually into it and is putting on the character without any real issue.
Well, because he starts to like really form a connection with like the three other guys, because they're put together with this crew of like three guys who have like weird names in it. You've got Daniel Britt Gibson, Jason Mitchell, and Jamar Malachi Neighbours, who play characters Trunk, Bud, and Stitches. And I do like how everything basically it's about like code switching, and they sort of like have to keep up the switch and not fall back into how they are. Because he says, "What is it? You sound like Richard Pryor pretending to be a white guy."
Yeah.
And so they put on like these really overwrought gangster voices when they're talking to everyone else. Which Jordan Peele, if you wind back and go all the way back to their sketch comedy again, Jordan Peele was always like better at doing voices than either of them. Jordan Peele like always does like the really out there characters, it seems, whereas Keegan-Michael's the one who does like very often the more like direct stuff. They're both pretty good actors, and I'd say like I don't know, I wouldn't want to lean on either side, like one guy better than the other, but I would say Jordan is like 100% good at doing like these crazy voices, so he can just immediately slip into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the one, sorry, we left out, of course, Tiffany Haddish, who plays High C, who is like the most important character out of that, because it turns out she's a cop at the end, because that's how they wrap it all up. That was a weird situation about that bit where Jordan Peele and Tiffany Haddish's characters both go in to play to meet like their own characters.
I don't know what you mean. What?
Where they meet? Sorry, not meet their own characters. Sorry, they meet a lady who's playing herself.
Oh, Anna Faris.
Yeah, they meet Anna Faris.
Yeah, the actor Anna Faris, who's playing
Anna Faris.
a weird version of the actor Anna Faris.
Exactly. For some reason, I can't find on the IMDb thing here. Yeah, but she's there with 2 other people buying drugs from them, and it all goes crazy. And that's when he's like, "Oh man, we've got to get out of here." That was a weird bit. Even by this standards, because the next weird bit that happens is like Keegan-Michael's character gets high on the weird super drug and goes into has this weird vision quest where he meets up with
George Michael the cat that's talking with the voice of Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. Who is always kind of interesting when they make... Oh yeah, here we are. There's an uncredited list, and I think she's probably... Yeah, Anna Faris, uncredited. Keanu Reeves makes references, but he only makes 2 references. He makes a Bill and Ted reference. It's like, you've got to be excellent to each other, and then he makes a Matrix reference. And I just find it weird that they underline the Matrix reference when Keanu talks, but not the Bill and Ted reference. And I'm like, if you're going to underline the Matrix reference, why not underline the Bill and Ted reference as well?
Considering the popularity of the two,
20
years ago, I think... I was going to say, 20 years ago, Bill and Ted would probably have been better known, but, I think most people these days, if you point out that Keanu became famous for Bill and Ted more than The Matrix, they'd be very confused. They're like, wait, you mean the Matrix guy with all the leather, the gunfighting, and the lack of emotion? He was the goof music person?
Yeah.
Yeah. Still both excellent films.
Yeah.
I've rewatched both of them long after the hype's worn off, and they completely hold up, both The Matrix and Bill and Ted. Specifically Bill and Ted 2 being the better film, though.
Really? You think that you prefer Bill and Ted 2?
It's a much better film. It just is. It doesn't suffer from the second film problems, which is often that in the second film, they're either trying to retell the story of the first film, which they're not doing,
that's true.
Or what they're trying to do is they've thought of a load of jokes, and they're then, it's always bad when you come up with the jokes first, and then you try and justify how they get from joke to joke. You've written jokes in 3 locations, and you're just coming up with any premise you can think of about why they move from place to place. And it's the problem you see a lot in, The Simpsons or Family Guy or other, 20-minute quick shows that, just are just trying to find any reason to move them to the next plot we've written jokes in, Whereas a good thing thinks of the situation and then writes the jokes around that situation so that the plot's still coherent. And it doesn't have any of the problems of it's sort of that thing if it doesn't have the problems of the first. But why are we talking so much about Bill and Ted? I'm probably going off a bit.
You spoke a long time on Bill and Ted because I was just surprised that you liked the second one.
You were just surprised. The second one is better. I'm sorry, it is.
Yeah.
Were you with me when we rewatched them?
Yeah.
5-6 years ago. Yeah. Isn't the second one better? Don't you think?
I'm okay with it. I don't know. There's just not as much time hopping.
Feel like we should rewatch Bill and Ted again.
Well, there's the next podcast. I have one interesting anecdote from this because I saw one thing that Key and Peele did on the promotion for this film is they went on the Hot Wings challenge. Do you know that thing of that's done by Now We Feast, where they interview people while at the same time eating very spicy hot wings?
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. So I watched that. And apparently, so Method Man, who's actually a pretty good actor, he's all right in this, but he's done a load of other acting and everything, and he's also a rapper and everything. It's kind of cool. There's this kind of cool situation where Method Man, because he is still kind of intense, not like the fake intense in this one, but and he's really famous. He was probably the most famous person in the movie when this movie came out, and there's this bit that they talk about on set where he looks like he's really angry on set and he's on his phone and they're talking to him and he's like, "Hey man, I'm just irritated. I've got 2 kids, twins, and they're graduating and they say the school's only going to comp me 3 tickets." And it's like, I've got 2 kids at that school. I should get 6 tickets. because I'm gonna have to pay to get like all the other members of my family in, and I've got two. I can't make up anything else. So he's like really irritated. He was gonna have to buy more tickets to the graduation, or wouldn't be able to get more tickets to the graduation. So he was like, while they weren't filming, like calling up his kid's school and just saying like, "You got to give me more tickets so I can get more of my family to see my daughter's graduate." And they just said, "It's surprisingly suburban to just see Method Man turn up and go, I'll tell you what I'm going to give. I'm going to give this private school I'm sending my kids to an earful to get them through this."
Yeah, I think that's possibly not the reputation he'd had until that moment. In their minds, anyway. Not when they hired him, anyway.
I don't know. I was not super familiar with like Method Man, but he's like done a lot of stuff. I mean, weirdly enough, he's been in like a few interesting films. Like he was in Garden State, and he's been in a few things that to me, like I've never watched them, but to me they did seem kind of like, oh wow, these are like, it's like Friday, but made made like maybe about the same time or maybe a little bit after. Do you remember Friday and the subsequent sequels with Ice Cube in them?
No, I don't even know what they are. Sorry.
Oh, they're just movies that are like anthology movies. Not anthology movies, but they're just sort of like relaxed movies about like the silly things that people get up to when they're getting high.
Oh, those sort of films. No, I've never watched those films.
I was always weird.
Whenever I was...
Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, like, I don't know, I found... There's a few of those sort of things where I'm just like, I don't like this, partially because it reminds me of irritating times in my own life. Like, when I was 15, 16... Well, no, I was 15 and 16-ish sort of time when every friend I had got into smoking weed except for me. So... Until I got new friends, basically my social circle turned into sitting around rooms or walking around in the woods while everyone I knew got really stoned and thought they were funny. But do you know who stoned people are funny to? Other stoned people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're mind-numbingly dull. So no, it was like when I was... It's just like if I watch things like, I don't know... like any of the stoner films, like, I don't know, Pineapple Express, if you want to go with like the James Franco side of things, or you can watch the was it Cheech and Chong ones, things like that. Just any film that's based around the idea that these people are stoned and funny. I've never found it amusing because I'm always just like, but stoned people are so dull and they're just sitting around thinking that they're really full of wisdom and boring.
Well, in all fairness, at least they can't chase after you that well, unlike people with cocaine, who really want you to know everything that's happening.
True, I've never actually hung around people who are on cocaine, so small mercies, it's all good.
So it's kind of a simple story. The cat's stolen, they go to try and get it back, they pretend to be the scary people that they're told to. They go on like a drop-off to try and sell some of their drugs.
Stuff gets real.
Shit gets real. Everyone gets shot. Well, this is the thing. Only the people they sell the drugs to get shot. They still run away with the money and everything. And then they hang around for a bit where like he tries to Jordan Peele's character tries to convince Keegan-Michael Key's character, "No, we got to get out of here." And then eventually they just do kind of something that they kind of should have thought of doing earlier, which is, hey, we can just walk in and pick up the cat.
And then leave.
Keegan-Michael Key's character keeps getting more and more intense, and then he also hears from his wife, who's out, that they're like supposedly their friend was like really inappropriate to her, and so he gets really angry and stuff. So he's like starts believing his own fake hype a bit too much.
Yeah.
But they get out with the cat, but then the scary Dresden brothers catch up to them. And tie them up.
The cat.
And they're like generally out. Then they get really out of a monster movie because what is it? Even the thing that Jordan Peele invented, with the penises that he sort of made up once to try and sound intense.
Oh god!
It turns out his character actually does do, and he has like a necklace of penises. And Keegan-Michael Key has a great line where he goes, "Oh my god, are those some tiny penises?" Which is like, I'm just gonna lie and say, "Oh my god, those penises, they look so small." Imagine it. It's like I'm still gonna be full of it, even though.
Yeah.
But they manage to escape, get guns, and then shoot them, and then they get back alive again, and then they shoot them.
Yeah.
I do some of Jordan Peele's like things of like, you know, the sort of like the tsukomi, as we would say, as you'd say in like in Japanese double act, but sort of like the I guess you'd call it like the straight man comeback in English, where in both with like Tiffany Haddish's character, who says, you know, when we killed those people, he goes, I think you killed those people.
Yeah.
Keegan-Michael Key shoots.
Nah, we killed them together. You can have some credit. No, the credit's all on you. No, you can take the credit. We did it together.
It's like, I think
Agree
legally
to disagree.
you killed
Yeah.
and then Keegan-Michael Key's character shoots the Dresden brothers first, and he's got, oh my god, we killed them, and he's like, we?
Yeah.
And then he does shoot them anyway. And then it gets a bit circular or whatever, because then they walk out and everything gets revealed in the third act. It's oh no, you lied about something in the first act. It gets revealed at the start of the third act to start off a third act ranking up the tension bit. And so Method Man takes them to Louise Skillsman, who plays like the brother of the guy who dies right at the start. And he keeps their lie going, saying, these are the Dresden brothers. They shot your brother and everything. But what's great is what settles the deal is they don't really come up with something. It's that Method Man can't give up the cat. Because the guy's like, oh, that's my brother, my cousin or my brother's cat. You've got to give that cat back to me as well, otherwise no deal. Otherwise you're not getting the bounty on the Dresden brothers. And so Method Man's like, fine. And they have a gunfight.
Yep, because you can't give up the cat.
Because you can't give up the cat, because
no,
one cat to rule them all, one cat to find them, one cat to bring them all, and in the darkness, yeah. And so this all turns into a big gunfight. I do like the closing of this mini arc that happens, where Keegan-Michael Key has been bonding with the like the three guys who he's with out of the team of four that they're with, and he's been like making them like George Michael and teaching them about communication, and he goes, look, they're communicating. And in this slow-mo gunfight, they're sort of like keeping tabs on each other, and that's why they do really well in the gunfight.
Yeah, his team building,
his
basic keeps them alive.
Corporate team building exercises has helped. And then they get into a gunfight, and they actually do like a lot of the stuff that they said they do in the thing, which is cover each other and do weird flips for no good reason.
Yeah, which doesn't go well.
No, that's what's great, because of course it doesn't actually work. And he gets shot in the leg, and Keegan-Michael Key gets shot in the hand, which leads into a chase, which ends up back at Keegan-Michael Key's house. And there's quite like a cool bit of goes, yeah, I don't drive. But he does, and Louis Skillsman gets hit. And eventually he just gets shot by Method Man. And then Method Man attempts to get arrested by Tiffany Haddish, who turns out was a cop. But then turns out she is, and she shoots with Method Man. So it's like, oh, friggin' hell. It's all twisting here. But this is I went through this needless thing where everything goes to hell, where Tiffany Haddish apparently fakes shooting a load of people in front of Jordan Peele, right? Just so that you know, she's the person who shot, like we said, she's the person who shot people in front of Jordan Peele, and that's why he's all like freaked out and wants to get out and just get the cat. And then she reveals she's a cop. And then they have the whole, oh, okay, everything's sorted out, the bad guy's shot, the other three guys, I guess, are going to prison because they're gangsters. And it's all sort of winding up, and she says, oh no, those people that we shot weren't really shot. We hire celebrities to help us all the time, like Steven Seagal, which I'm like, okay, that's a silly joke. But then she takes Keanu and says, so you got to go to jail because you probably broke a lot of laws. And he's like, yeah, you broke a few traffic laws and everything under duress. It's like,
that's my point.
Thank you.
I was going to praise this.
Okay, so I'm glad. So this is the bit where it gets. I was like, okay, this is like a silly thing. It made me laugh out loud a bit. But then this ending, like, it's not portrayed as like a bad thing. It's portrayed as them taking responsibility for the kind of extra legal stuff they did to get the cat. But I'm like,
yeah,
What?
Well, what did they bloody do? That's what I great because they get out. The thing is, it cuts to this scene of them in prison, and it's like, okay, yeah, you're out tomorrow after 6 months,
or like 21 days. It says so, like after like 7 months in jail. It's not long.
Oh yeah.
Considering the stuff that we saw them do.
No,
which is
I looked up a lot of the statutory minimums for a start, and I was like, firstly, a good lawyer could certainly have got them off what happened, because let's just look at what happened, right?
Under duress, come on, like
no.
service,
Firstly, right? Initiating event. Peele's house gets robbed, right? And someone steals his pet. Also, that pet wasn't known to be stolen from someone else. He adopts the pet in good faith when the pet is found abandoned with no collar, no chip, no nothing, right? So it's perfectly understandable. That's not a crime. He gets robbed. That's not a crime. He then finds out that he then asks his neighbour, why did I get robbed? And then decides he's going to go and see if these people did rob him. Finds out these people did rob him, and then wants to, leave, but can't leave because the guy's like, no, you're going to have to go and do a drug deal for me. And if you don't, obviously I'm going to shoot you, right? So then he's one, as you say, completely under duress from this moment onwards, right?
Goes
on the drug deal.
That's fake.
Also, that's entrapment. Is that not entrapment? When you set up a drug deal that is everyone involved is a cop.
I don't think that's why he went to prison. But yeah,
I know, but everyone there is a cop.
If for what Jordan Peele did, he went to prison, then for what Tiffany Haddish did to Jordan Peele, putting him in that situation, like friggin' emotionally scarring him, shouldn't she at least experience some disciplinary action? You
would have hoped so.
In a weird way, it's police. Yeah, police get away with shit all the time. They're going to say, oh, she didn't actually kill anyone, so...
But the other thing about the Anna Faris scene is that they all died in quote marks.
Yeah.
You have to have had that set up originally, right? So why did you have that set up originally? You had it originally set up because, of course... You didn't know that the Allentown brothers were going to be involved. You didn't know that they're going to come on or anything like that. The drug deal was already arranged before they even arrived, right? So they go on the drug deal with the 3 dudes in the car, but only she walks in. So originally, is she going to walk in on her own, or are the 3 guys going to come with her? And if they come with her, is she then going to fake their deaths? Why is she going to fake everyone's deaths? She doesn't need to prove... that the only reason I could see to do that would be is if you were newly in the gang and trying to prove you're not an undercover cop.
But she's not.
She doesn't need to do that because she's not new in the gang. She's the number 2 in the gang and really well respected. She doesn't need to prove she's not a cop by killing 3 random people, especially if they're meant to be, drug contacts that we're going to get a lot of business out of. So what is the point in faking everyone's death there, apart from to freak out a guy who you didn't even know was going to be there, who is then going to be... you've already got your suspicions that he's just some random who's pretending. I mean, what was the point in all that? And certainly, where's the crime in all that? Because again, they followed the traffic laws on the way there. They followed the traffic laws on the way back. They go and they're like, yeah, okay. So you still literally haven't committed a crime yet. At which point, they end up trying to steal the cat, which again was theirs in good faith. And you're trying to take that and go, still no crime. The real Allentown brothers pick them up. They take them to an abandoned warehouse where they are quite clearly going to murder them. They manage to get out of their bindings, and then they absolutely definition of self-defense them.
I would agree with you. I think that's self-defense, but the nation of self-defense is different not only from country to country, but from state to state in the US, and it's very difficult to work out. And of course, as with many things... what's the word? Asymmetrically enforced, which is my way of saying the laws are
racially motivated. Often,
well, not racially motivated, are enforced in a racist way.
Yes.
Black people don't seem to be able to call for self-defense or the stand your ground law. Meanwhile, white people go off all the time and they straight up kill people.
Yeah, but this is the thing. I do think so on the one hand, if they got convicted of murder, manslaughter, or whatever, they'd have more than 7 months, surely, for that crime. So that can't be why they're in prison.
Also,
so they must have got self-defense for that particular one. Also, as is revealed in the post-credit scenes, those 2 aren't dead.
Yeah, they're alive.
So,
if we're being really...
as such, even if she had called it in and gone, yeah, we found them in this warehouse, we think that they did a thing in there. No, you're going to find shell casings, maybe some blood, but there's no actual evidence that they committed any crimes in that warehouse. Then they get like stuffed in the bloody trunk of the car, or they get driven and they get told, execute this guy, and they can't do it. So they don't do it. They just leave the guy in the boot with a snake. And then they go, okay, fine, so we're going to go to the drug... And again, they're still under duress. They still have guns pointed at them, at which point they're in the middle of a firefight. And now, this is when they pick up assault rifles and straight up murder several people.
Yeah, they do shoot several people in that one.
Again, absolutely only shooting people with guns who are trying to shoot you. You could quite clearly argue self-defense. You were brought there under duress and you don't want to be there. And if you did get convicted of that wasn't self-defense, that was actually a drug-related shooting and a gangland shooting or whatever you want to call it.
More the idea is...
You don't get 7 months!
Yeah.
Right? So literally, as far as I can tell, the only crimes they actually commit are the driving offences between the drug shootout and his home.
Well,
and
do you think that would get you...
Key's character punches his wife's...
assaulter, I guess.
Wannabe suitor / assaulter, yeah, in the face.
They also
That's it.
battery with a car. They also hit Louise Goltzman's character with a car.
Who was about to shoot them. So again, I think a good lawyer would get them off all of that. I do think you might get got for assault on the dude who has been coming onto your wife. But that's it. That's the only crime I could think of that they actually did that wasn't either under duress or directly self-defense.
I do think, by the way they focused it, he wasn't coming on. He was like really being inappropriate and stuff. So
he was off camera inappropriate.
Yeah,
that was the problem. But he seemed like he was going to be inappropriate in the scenes we see him in, and then we don't see him at all until she calls, going, "I just feel really uncomfortable. He's being really inappropriate, and I don't feel okay staying here any longer."
Well, I think that's fine. I don't need to see it in the movie to...
Oh, no, I don't want to see it. I'm just saying that he was inappropriate and therefore, gets punched.
Yeah.
But that punch is literally the only thing I could think of that one of them does as a proper crime, apart from the, speeding tickets / running red lights on the way to the
in a stolen vehicle.
Location. Yeah, in a stolen vehicle.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah. This is the thing. Like, I could understand them magically, in a way, being punished by prison in a thing. I think we should both say here, like, yeah, this is a thing written by different people, and it's like, let them tell their story in that. But I do feel a bit, and considering it's like black person of color producing it and everything, I feel bad saying I feel uncomfortable that these like two main characters are being punished with jail time in this political climate. But they made it, so it's like it's really hard for me to feel that torn up. It makes me feel like I'm being a bit of a snob by being that torn up about it. But I am torn up about it.
I just could have done with one line of what they got convicted for, or them at least blaming biased people or something like that.
Getting off scot-free. Come on, let them get off stuff. Because it just feels a bit weird, because especially when Tiffany Haddish says, there are consequences for your actions, and goes, you traumatized the person you're saying that to.
Yeah! Like, you had, again, to point out, the Anna Faris scene has no gain or reason at all for any of the stuff they do about faking the deaths and stuff.
They just wanted a funny scene with Anna Faris. I think that's
why.
No,
I'm absolutely fine with that, because honestly, I really like that scene. I think it's very funny, and I do think it's really good the way that he's trying to just get the money and leave, and she keeps wanting to like play truth or dare.
Yeah.
And then it's like, why don't you shoot him? And things like that. It's just, again though, it's that thing of, even if the guy was a criminal, what you have is Anna Faris, who is undercover on behalf of the police, instructing an undercover police officer that she knows is an undercover police officer to shoot the other guy who doesn't know she's undercover police, which means that even if that guy had gone, hey, whoa, she's going to shoot me, and had like self-defense shot her, I really feel like you could get away with that as well, because for all you know, it's genuinely a, drug-addled movie star telling a gang member to shoot you.
Exactly.
Who would? Because she has lots of other times.
Yeah.
If you self-defense to that point, it would be self-defense.
Yeah.
Again, I liked that scene, but I feel like the last 20 minutes of this film just kind of went, we're going to ignore certain plot elements now in favour of just going, yeah, no, it was like this all along.
Because you have the thing where everyone's incredibly managed with a cat. I do see this as kind of like an absurdist comedy, like a spoof comedy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
of like suburban gangster sort of stuff. And it's more about like them, Jordan Peele and Keegan-Michael Key bouncing off each other. Although they don't get to do it a lot later, but I do like the early stuff where they're about to go into the bar and everything, and he's trying to tell him like, you know, you can't talk like that and everything, and that's kind of genuine. By the way, the thing I said earlier? You sound like Richard Pryor doing an impersonation with a white guy. That's
a direct quote.
That's something that Jordan Peele said about himself recently in an interview when he's talking about Us.
Oh, really?
And everything.
Okay.
So apparently that's something that was even said to Jordan Peele, or Jordan Peele thinks about himself.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, also not. Come on, Jordan, you sound a lot cooler than...
I don't... Yeah, I know. Again, really not my place to say any of that sort of stuff, but I don't... it's that thing of... I'm against anyone being told that they should sound like anything, you know?
Well, yeah, of course,
like that.
Everyone is, but sometimes you have to. And it is a sort of thing that like lots of people do. Like, I talk to you differently to how I talk to people at work differently.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I admit I do promote synergy while at work.
Promote synergy.
When I have to.
Like a boss.
I use that all the time. It's my favourite nonsense business speak. It's
really promote synergy.
Yeah, promote synergy. I literally, I managed to sneak in the Lonely Island quote when someone actually asked, they said, your job role's changed a lot recently. Could you just write down your current job role and all the tasks that you do? Because when you leave, we want to be able to hire someone with, the specs that you write up. And I literally put promote synergy as one of my major tasks in that job role.
Nice.
I was like, yeah, promote. So from now on, that company's probably still using that job spec and still asking everyone whether they promote synergy like a boss. But no, as far as the film goes, apart from the real plot things at the end where I'm a little I just think they could have done with a couple of lines to explain why you did any of that stuff or why they ended up in prison or anything.
Yeah, I just feel it's a bit bad that so many other characters in similar movies don't get to get all told off on their action for much worse consequences as well. They clearly do. There are clearly movies like comedy movies where people do much worse stuff. As we all know, comedies in the 80s were really creepy.
Yes.
Like Revenge of the Nerds
were.
and Animal House and stuff like that. It's and they didn't receive any things. Meanwhile, comeuppance. Meanwhile, this is just a guy trying to do the very understandable thing of saving the cutest cat in the world from a life of crime. And
one's opinion.
Yeah. And he has to go out and do it. So yeah, that's the thing. I suppose it's the thing that we should come to a head on this, because it's, one is did you find the thing funny? But two, was Keanu as cute as everyone acted?
No! I am really sorry, but okay. I know I'm going to sound like I'm not, but I am the biggest cat person you know.
You are
right?
The biggest cat person I know.
To the nth level. I love all of them. They're amazing. But
you're an incredible cat person.
A cat that just
and as a trans woman, I meet actual cat people. So
yes.
People who are actually cats. So of course, you're even more cat person than them.
Well, this is the thing. It's just not that cute a cat. You could have... I just said, because I was watching this with my wife and she was just going is it just me or is that cat not actually very cute? And I went, yeah, but often in Hollywood, you kind of take what you can get with acting animals.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's not going to be that many. And I looked it up and there's several cats used and a lot of CG.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just that thing of, well, what have we got the most of? But it's not a particularly attractive example of a particularly attractive breed. Really. It's just, no. I mean, if you're going to have that, in something like Lord of the Rings, you might not particularly think the rings, your style and taste in jewellery. But what it is magic.
Yeah, it's got a magical thing that makes people want it.
That's a bit different. Whereas the cat, you just sort of
I think, in a way,
cats are great, generally.
It's kind of supposed to be almost magic. But yeah, it does seem like we're expected to find this cat as cute as everyone else is. I do like the joke right at the end where it's he's got a disease, he's going to be a kitten forever.
Yeah. No, I mean, the thing is, to summarise then, just to round off, I rate everything pretty much out of 5 when I do this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And for me, I also know there's a real rating and then there's a personal one. So, for example, I can tell you that a heist film I really like for me is a 5, but objectively I know it's a 3.
Well, careful with the use
You know,
of objectively.
I'll watch
but
a
yeah,
lot of...
I know what you mean.
No, I'm saying like, I don't mean...
When you look at it
when
without
you're not
the things
me
that make you
or
go,
without bias.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm like, this is so my wheelhouse, and I'm saying... The thing is, I felt like this film was a 3 for me, but I do feel like it's a 4 because I don't think it was for me. It's not... It was a film not made for me because it's not made for my humour. I don't enjoy this sort of humour anywhere near as much as a lot of people who it was aimed at because I don't like cringe comedy. I'm aware Peep Show is a great show. Objectively, I have trouble watching it as a show, even though I know it's a good show, because I'm just there like, I just feel all cringy. I don't like it. I don't laugh. I just sort of go, oh God, whenever anything awkward like that happens.
Exactly.
So it's so much cringe comedy in this that I just kept going like, oh, you know.
Did you feel it was cringe? I can understand what you mean. I didn't feel that cringy about it. But yeah, I watched this because I was a huge fan of Key and Peele and their comedy. And I was like, surely they're doing a comedy movie about an adorable kitten. That's so ridiculous. It's got to be fun. But like, it didn't feel... Like, certain bits I did get the feel that of like one of their sketches in it a bit, like especially with their chemistry, the two, Jordan and Keegan-Michael. But there was something missing. It didn't feel as like over the top or as crazy sometimes as like a sketch of their thing. And a part of me kind of wishes it was more of like a more explicitly sketchy sketch type movie linked together with just like a vague closeness. And this didn't have that, and it's a pity because they've done like so much great stuff. Like you said, that lightning in a bottle sketch that you saw, that was like
that's genuinely really funny.
Yeah, and it's like if there had been a way to like create like a way of like making a sequence of sketches that were linked by this idea of Keanu the cat, that'd be fine. But well. So in a way I was kind of disappointed, but at the same time, I agree with you. I think there are other people that would probably like this a lot more than I did. I felt bad because I thought this was going to be for me because I like the writers and the stars so much, but it sadly wasn't.
I know, and it's really annoying when you go and see something, especially if you think that it's in your zone and it turns out not to be. Or for me, the worst one is when you think it's in your zone and you go and it is, but it's so bad that even it being in your zone can't salvage that film.
Yeah. I've had plenty of ones like that, yeah.
Yeah, like things like, for example, I think most people who've seen it will admit that Ocean's 8 was a pretty poor film. But I was there going like, as someone who rates heist films 1 or 2 stars higher than everybody else in the world seems to, just always because I love heist films so much, even I think this was a 2, which... I'm pretty sure it might have even been a 1 when you look at it like that. But yeah, it's just this film. I do think
that's interesting then because we need to see it because I loved Ocean's 8.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh God, we could talk about that for an hour because it's just there's so much wrong with that film. Oh my God! You've got to stop me before I go into
what you
it.
Don't like about that film, but we'll leave that for another episode. So until we come to it,
actually,
like Keanu, like. Inoffensive overall, apart from the ending where why you got to look at the black guys? It's like why you got to do that when they're just trying to save their cat? Like that's the thing I got to say about that. But other than that, like film.
I think the moral of the story is phone the police when you find out where your cat is.
They did do that. No, they didn't do that afterwards.
When did they actually phone the police?
They phoned the police when his home was burgled. But not when they found...
Oh, yeah, no, they did. But then when they knew where the cat was, they didn't then fix the problem by actually getting the police involved. Like, they found out that, it was this lot because they thought we were the drug dealer's house and therefore...
Getting the police involved is not something I immediately jump to in these sorts of ones. Because, no one... In these sort of movies, if they called the police, then there's no movie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair
it's like,
enough.
why does no one get the police? Why does no one call the thing? It's like why does no one just leave the haunted house? It's like, yeah, but then there's no movie. I can understand
Yes, but
sometimes.
there's a better. There's the good film is the one where they try the door and the haunted house is locked.
Yeah, I know.
That's the good one.
I know what you mean, but at the same time, I'm often willing to forgive one hand wave like that.
Yeah.
But what I didn't like is the letter hand wave of, we're putting you in prison despite the fact that, for like 7 months, despite the fact that you're clearly
really guilty of
anything. And come on, they're such likeable actors. Like, that seems really mean that they have to suffer stuff like that.
Yeah, and I also just think you're looking at this as it's just this thing where you're going, okay, I can look at hand waves and I give them a pass when the film is good. Like, plot holes, I will be fine with plot holes, but I always say, right, when you get focused on plot holes, like why are they in prison, it's because the film isn't entertaining enough to distract you from them. And I always think, because like you can complain about plot holes, but no,
a real plot
I
hole
don't complain about
draws your attention to it because it's breaking the established rules of the film. Because that's what a plot hole is. I agree. But this one, I don't think it broke the law.
Niggly plot holes rather than big ones.
Yeah, random stuff could happen. It's a silly film where everyone's obsessed with a cat. I'm fine. That doesn't feel like it broke it. But okay, we're going off on tangent here. I just want to say, like I said, still an okay film. Maybe go check it out because it's on Netflix or it's on something. But I wouldn't say go and buy it.
Oh yeah, it's on Netflix. It was certainly enjoyable to watch. I had a pleasant evening with it. And that's fine. Yeah. That's all I asked.
I mean, come on, Get Out's on it now. And Get Out is arguably funnier and made by Jordan Peele as well. So
You do want me to watch Get Out, don't you?
Oh, we should watch... this is the thing. It's kind of weird. I really like Get Out. We should watch Get Out. I don't think we should do a podcast on Get Out because no one who's interested in Get Out wants to hear what we have to say about Get Out.
I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good way to cap it off. So you won't be hearing about us from Get Out. You might be hearing us from Ocean's 8 or Bill and Ted.
We will stick to the 90s white films.
Indeed. Stay in our lane. Stay in our lane. Until next time, be excellent to each other, everybody. Bye.
Bye.